Hi, I'm Lavonda with Homeschoolific, and I am here with a video to share tips on how to get your busy child or your active child to actually sit and listen to your read alouds. So I learned very quickly with my youngest when he was little that there was no way I was going to be able to have him sit and listen while I read. And so I started a few things that really helped and made a huge difference. The first thing I did was I read during snacks, lunches, and breakfast time. So typically, I didn't usually eat at the same time as my kids. I would eat right after them, or I would just not eat that meal. Breakfast, I'm not a big breakfast eater, so that was never a big deal. But it helps to sit while your kids are sitting or while your busy child is eating. They're being still, like they don't have a choice but to be in that place. And so I found that that was one of the easier times to read aloud. Another thing I would do was to allow that busy child to be able to sit and play with Legos or blocks or color while I read to them. It's something your busy child is more than likely your kinesthetic learner or your tactile learner. And so they need to move. They learn by experiencing, they learn by doing. And just the act of allowing them to move things and create things and things that are quiet, mind you, do those types of things, you'll find that they're still actively listening. Just a story for you all. I remember we were doing our scripture memory work some years ago, and my youngest, who is my active child, he wasn't really paying attention, and so I kind of just stopped including him. And so we would go over, we were memorizing, or my kids were memorizing Psalm 23. And so as we're going through it, he raises his hand and asks if he could recite the scriptures. And I'm just like, sure, go ahead. And he recited it almost word for word, which like surprised me completely, because he wasn't very interested. He was fidgeting, so I just started letting him have a small toy, and he would play with that toy while we were doing it. I assumed he wasn't listening, and he was. He had been listening the entire time. He just needed something to keep him moving. That's why, they create like these fidget toys and things like that. Those toys are for people who are, your child who's a tactile learner who needs to be moving or kind of doing something while they're listening. It helps them. It's not a distraction. It actually helps them to focus on those other senses, like their auditory senses, and it helps them to kind of like their focus is stabilized on one thing. I don't know, it's like a superpower. They get to like all the other senses perk up or something. But I realize, and you will too, if once you get that type of a learner, because not all kids, that's not all of their main learning styles, but when you get that tactile learner, you have to make sure you're catering to them. And so that's one of the ways I found it was helpful. Another way is to read in the car, obviously, if you're the passenger. So if your family's in the car, it's a great time to read aloud to your children or the child, that way they're all going to listen, but the one that needs to move, they can't go anywhere. They're in the car in their seatbelts strapped down real tight, and so they don't have a choice but to listen. Also, I like to utilize audiobooks. Audiobooks are great. We use audiobooks in the car. My kids love listening to audiobooks at home as well, and sometimes I'll play an audiobook while my kids are playing quietly, or I'll read aloud. But audiobooks are a great source for your child that likes to move, and it also gives them a different experience. So it's not just coming from mom. They get to hear it. It's almost like sitting and listening to the radio back when we were coming up. You can also read in short bursts. This kind of helps your child that needs to move, your tactile learner. It helps them to get adjusted to listening to you read. So obviously you're starting early, or if you brought them home and you realize they wiggle, this is a good way to start with 5 minutes. All right, if you have them sit with you, snuggle up, you read for 5 minutes, and then let them do other things, and then read for 5 more minutes. However, you need to do it so that they're comfortable with adjusting, because, you know, it's an adjustment to be still if you don't want to or like to be still, or movement is how you experience the world. So what happens is you start with your 5 minutes, and then maybe the next week you add another minute, and the week after that you add another you add another minute or a couple minutes, and you'll find that that child has learned, they've taught, you know, you've taught them, and they've been disciplined to sit and listen for longer periods of time. You're also building their attention span. So you don't want to just keep it at 5 minutes. You definitely want to increase that time frame that you're reading aloud to them. The short bursts will turn into, you know, a 30-minute reading session or 45-minute reading session. But you'll definitely notice that that helps a lot. So start small. My next tip is to make your reading time a reading experience. Just like when you go to the movies and you get popcorn and snacks or drinks and all those things, and you know it's going to be a fun time, and you kind of go and sit down and you enjoy the show, make it that same way for your reading time. Not every single day, because I get that that's a lot, but it makes it feel special. They look forward to it. If you have those times where everybody has a snack and a drink, and we all come and sit down and with our blankets and our pillows, or light the fireplace, whatever, but make it something that they'll look forward to. And mom or dad sits and reads this book. And so what a special time, especially around this time. There's so many books, especially holiday books, that I'm sure your kids would love to sit and listen to and have that complete experience, so that it feels like a fun family time. Another tip is to read at bedtime. Listen, they're already in beds, snuggled up, ready to go to sleep. What a perfect time to read to them. If you're kind of catching on to the theme of reading while they're in positions where they have no other choice but to be still and listen, or keeping them busy with quiet things, that's kind of a trend, especially the catch them while they can't move kind of thing. And, you know, if all else fails, my bonus tip is to No, I'm just kidding. That was for fun. We did that during quarantine when we were all very bored. But so please, no one wrap their children so that they can read to them. But I hope you all enjoyed those tips on how to keep your busy child or your active learner still or focused while you are reading to them. And we will see you in the next video. But wait, before you go ahead and subscribe to our channel if you've been watching and you're enjoying the content. Diane and I really enjoy making these videos. I thought it'd be kind of like, you know, hectic or crazy, but it is great that we're a team and we get to kind of like tag team this. So we hope that you all are enjoying it, and I will see you in the comments below.